And I remember being so nervous, like I've never felt nerves like it. And he didn't ask me for half an hour, 40 minutes, I promise you, he didn't ask me one question on football. The last thing he said to me, and it still gives me shivers now, like he said to me, he looked into my eyes and he said, Phil.
Ferguson allegedly spotted you in that 7-1 defeat when you were playing for Blackburn and went, I need this kid. So can you tell us about how the process of leaving Blackburn and joining Manchester United came about?
So I think it was towards the back end of 2009, 2010 I think it was. I'd played really well for Blackburn. I was playing midfield at the time. Just a young kid, loving playing football for his boyhood club, enjoying every minute of it, no fear, no pressure, just putting on the shirt and going. I remember just playing for Blackburn and then coming home and going playing five-a-side. That was a sort of feeling I had. So I knew it was coming. I knew my time was coming to end at Blackburn, and I knew there was a lot of clubs sniffing around. I knew, obviously I signed for Man United, but there was, Chelsea, Arsenal. I met with Arsene Wenger. I met with David Moyes. I met with City, a few of the representatives from City. Who else? Harry Redknapp rang me. So I was fortunate. I had a whole host of clubs. I could have chosen anyone.
What was that like?
It's just crazy because I was so used to my own. You're in your own bubble as a kid, and you just to hear the voices of these people, and I was so nervous going around to these people. Kenny Dalglish, I met with Kenny in his house in Liverpool. So I met with all these people, and then the only club that didn't ring me or speak to me was Man United. Excuse me. So I'm in Dubai with my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife. We're in the morning. This was before we had kids, and an unknown number rings me.
You're on holiday.
On holiday. I never answer unknown numbers. I mean, that's one thing I've changed now because you have to network now. You answer every call now. And then it rings me again, so my wife's like, "You're gonna have to answer it." So I answered it, half asleep in bed. It must have been 8 o'clock in the morning, and this voice comes on and says, "Phil, Sir Alex here." I'm not going to try and do that again.
Did he call himself Sir Alex?
I can't even remember.
Go on, sorry, let's stop.
And I've literally shot out of bed, so my girlfriend, my wife's going, "What's going on?" And then he just said, he basically along the lines of, "We'd love to have you at the club. Like, I've loved watching you. I know everything about you, and I'd love you to come out to Nice, to come and see me and have a chat with me." So that was it. Put the phone down. Flew back.
What was he doing in Nice?
So he was on his holiday at the time. So they just got beat. It was the season they got beat to Barcelona in the Champions League 3-1, where Messi's, I think they absolutely battered United that game as well. So I went out to meet him in Nice with my agent David Gill. Went on a little private plane, which again for me, being on a private plane, I'm 18-year-old, going out to see Sir Alex on a private plane. Met him in his house in Nice, or wherever it was. I think it was Nice. And I remember being so nervous, like I've never felt nerves like it. And I went to meet him. So my agent's gone upstairs with David Gill, and I'm sat having a conversation with Sir Alex like this. I'm absolutely bricking it. And he didn't ask me for half an hour, 40 minutes, I promise you, he didn't ask me one question on football. It was, how's your family? How's your mum? How's your dad? What were your grades like at school? I was just like, is he going to ask me a football?
And how did that make you feel?
Relaxed. It made me feel so relaxed. And it wasn't intimidating as you thought it would be. Now I've met with other managers and it's been quite intimidating. I'm only a young kid at the time, obviously. But he made me feel so relaxed, even though I'm still on edge a little bit. So he asked me all these questions about my grades and my scores and all these other things. And then my agent came down. Then he started to talk about football a little bit. And I watched you in this game. And, I love your passion for the 7-1 you made reference to. And then at the end, I remember the last thing he said to me, and it still gives me shivers now. Like he said to me, he looked into my eyes and he said, "Phil, are you a winner, son?" And I was like, yeah. I said, in my head, I'm thinking, where do I sign? Where do I sign? And I was meeting Arsenal literally 3 hours later in London. I was flying to London to go and meet Arsene Wenger. And I remember I came out and I just said to my agent, like, I don't want to go. Like, I'm done. I've made my decision.
Why?
And it was just the aura of him, like the presence of him, like the way he carried himself and the way he explained and sold the club to me was just like no other.
Did you ever go and meet Arsene?
I did meet Arsene. I just found a great man. Everyone I met, by the way, was brilliant and accommodating and spoke really highly of me, which was great.
Look, we all know the struggle of deciding what to eat, but what if I told you that Huel can make that decision easier? Their Taster Bundle has got 8 ready-to-drink bottles, including their Black Edition, which has got 35 grams of protein, 6 daily A to Z vitamins, 8 complete nutrition bars, 2 hot savoury pots, and a free Huel t-shirt. All you have to do is click the link in the description to unlock your offer now at huel.com/highperformance.
I always say it's like walking into a house. You know, as soon as you walk into a house, you get that feel straight. You don't have to see the rooms. You know straight away that that's the house for us. And it was just that feeling. And I just came back and that was it. I went to meet Arsene Wenger and I had to make the decision because I was flying out to under-21 championships the next day. And funny enough, at the same time, Jordan Henderson was actually signing for Liverpool. So me and him were having a conversation and he was saying, I'll sign for Liverpool. And I was like, oh no, come over to United. But obviously nothing ever happened in terms of signing for the same team. And yeah, the rest was history.
So those questions Ferguson was asking you about, like your parents and your school grades and things like that, what do you think he was trying to find out about you?
My mentality, how I was as a person, how I carried myself, because I don't think the reason why I was there, because he never had any doubt about my attributes towards football.
Yeah.
But he wanted to know what I was like as a person. Right. And I think today, I have ambitions of going down the coaching route and going into management myself, and I think that's such a huge and critical part about football these days. Like, time's moved on now. I think you have to understand every single player, and every single player has got their own goals and ambitions and been on their own journeys, and it's about understanding every individual. And for me, Sir Alex was the best at that. He knew exactly every individual person in that group. He knew where they were, he knew what they were getting up to, he knew everything about the family, and that is so important. And I think that's sort of been lost in translation in the last few years, and not just at United, but I think just in football as a whole.
And it's one thing getting to understand a player. It's another entirely different thing, and probably the most difficult thing, creating a winning culture. So I'm so interested to know what happened after the summer. You've gone to the championships, you come back, you're a Manchester United player. When did you realise the standard that was expected at that place, and how was it relayed to you that this is the Manchester United way at that time?
I think I arrived from the under-21 championships. I flew with, it was me, Chris Smalling, Tom Cleverley, Danny Welbeck. So I already knew a few of the lads from the under-21, so that made me feel a bit more. We flew out to Chicago, I think it was, and I remember landing at 3 a.m, and the amount of fans outside the hotel was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. They're just waiting all night just to get a glimpse of somebody. And I was like, wow, like, is that every time you travel? They was like, yeah, like, get used to that sort of thing. And then I remember having my first training session, and I remember being, again, just so nervous, but just itching to do so well and just impress these lads. Like, I've grown up watching these players, like, all these players I mentioned before, like, I've idolised them, do you know what I mean? Like, watching them grow up and playing in the biggest games and biggest competitions. And I remember I gave a few balls away in the start. We were doing like a little possession drill. And I remember Sir Alex pulling me during the 4-minute drills we were doing. He just said, don't worry, son. He said, you'll get used to the pace of it soon. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. And it was just, the tempo was just like no other. Like, I'd never experienced that. The level, the intensity they trained at, the tempo of the session, and the demands that those lads, those senior lads, expected and demanded of you was just so high, so high.